She doesn't follow the crowd. She doesn't need validation. She leads without asking for permission. Only the rarest man can walk beside her without dimming her fire. Welcome back, spicy ladies. Today we're stepping into territory most never even attempt to explore. Not because it's controversial, but because it's complex. We're dissecting the rare connection between the Sigma female and the only kind of man who can handle her intensity, her silence, her sharpness, and her strength. See, Sigma females don't walk into rooms seeking permission to exist. They're self-built, self-driven, and self-protected. They're the ones who go small talk, dodge surface-level relationships, and live life by internal compass, not external approval. But make no mistake, even a Sigma wants connection. She's just not looking for someone to complete her. She wants someone who can stand beside her without collapsing. Someone who doesn't shrink in her presence, doesn't try to cage her independence, and doesn't flinch when she reveals her mind. So today we're diving into the 12 rare masculine traits that define the only man strong enough to be with her. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. This isn't for the faint-hearted or the performative alpha. This is for the real ones, men who move with substance, silence, and self-control. And if you're one of them or striving to become one, hit that subscribe button because here at Wisdom Ways, we don't do ordinary, we do rare. My Sigma sisters and spicy ladies, your energy fuels this sacred space. Want to give back? One symbolic cup goes a long way. Link in description. Point 1, the mirrorless man. This man doesn't need her to reflect his value back to him because he's already found it within himself. Too many men define themselves through how women respond to them. Their confidence hinges on admiration, compliments, validation. But a Sigma female can smell that need from a mile away. And nothing drives her interest faster than someone who depends on her gaze to feel whole. The mirrorless man walks into her world already knowing who he is. He doesn't look to her for confirmation. He brings clarity, not confusion. He doesn't melt under her disapproval, nor does he inflate when she praises him. He's stable in storms, grounded in silence. She can challenge him, question him, even ignore him, and he won't flinch because his ego isn't fragile. It's refined. This is the man who can stand in front of a Sigma woman's intensity and not blink. He's unshaken, not because he's hard, but because he's rooted. He doesn't compete. He compliments. He isn't trying to impress her with noise. He's impressing her with stillness. That's what makes him rare. That's what earns her attention. He's not trying to match her power. He's trying to respect it. And in doing so, he becomes the only type of man she's drawn to. The one who brings value without needing applause. Right now, if you're still watching, I hope this video can help you. Your comments motivate me so much, so I can make more videos which you like. So hit that subscribe button and leave me a message. Let's continue. Point 2, the silence sharer. He speaks her first language, silence. Sigma females are often misread. They're called cold, distant, or aloof by those who only understand loud connection. But the truth is, their connection style is built on depth, not drama. They don't overshare. They don't perform. And they don't explain everything. This man doesn't just tolerate her silence. He gets it. When she disappears for days to recharge, he doesn't panic. When she's quiet in a room full of noise, he doesn't nudge her to speak. He understands that her silence is not absence. It's presence in another form. The silence sharer isn't afraid of the stillness. He's not threatened by her need for solitude. In fact, he matches it. He knows how to sit beside her and say nothing and still speak volumes. This kind of man brings peace, not pressure. He's aware that intimacy isn't always built through talking. It's also built through trust and quiet. He doesn't push for access before it's given. He doesn't chase her mind like a thief. He waits patiently until she opens fully and freely. And when she does, he listens. Not to fix, not to judge, not to control, but to understand. That's why she chooses him. Not because he's louder than her silence, but because he honors it. Point 3, the ego shedder. Most men live in performance mode, always trying to impress, dominate, or outshine. But with a Sigma female, that act falls flat fast. She doesn't care about how many people follow you. how alpha you sound, or how much money you flash. She watches how you treat yourself when no one's watching. And nothing makes her retreat faster than performative masculinity. The ego shedder is different. He's dropped the need to prove. His confidence doesn't scream. It radiates. He's comfortable not being the loudest in the room. He doesn't hijack conversations or compete with her success. He celebrates it without envy, without subtle sabotage. He understands that masculinity isn't loud. It's not controlling. It's not reactive. Real masculinity is quiet, calm, and consistent. And that's exactly what the Sigma female responds to. She's drawn to strength, but only when it's grounded in humility. The ego shedder is strong enough to let her lead when it's her strength that's needed. He's secure enough to learn from her and wise enough to let her shine without feeling diminished. That's what makes him rare. He's not trying to dominate her energy. He's harmonizing with it. And in a world full of noise, she'll always find the quiet ones who carry real power. Point 4, the fortress mind. The Sigma female doesn't engage with surface-level thinkers. She lives in the deep end emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And because of that, she doesn't just attract attention. She attracts intensity, which is why only a man with a fortress mind can truly hold space for her. This isn't about IQ or academic flexing. This is about emotional resilience, the kind of inner strength that doesn't collapse when challenged. The Sigma female will test you not as a game, but as a filter. She needs to know, can you handle her truth? Can you sit through her storm? Can you receive her fire without trying to control or extinguish it? The fortress mind doesn't fold under pressure. He doesn't get reactive when she's blunt. He doesn't misread her independence as rejection. He understands that her intensity isn't an attack. It's an invitation to meet her where she is. This man doesn't flinch when she withdraws to think. He doesn't assume the worst when she questions his logic or calls out his contradictions. Instead, he listens. He reflects. He responds with clarity, not ego. He's grounded. When everything around them is chaos, he doesn't get pulled in. That's his magic. He creates emotional safety, not by being passive, but by being present. He's also sharp. He can go toe-to-toe with her ideas. He can challenge her intellectually without disrespecting her. And she loves that because she's not looking for a yes man. She's looking for a sparring partner, someone who sharpens her, not someone who softens her edge. The fortress mind earns her trust by showing he can stand his ground without starting a war. That he can hold the space for both of them without collapsing into insecurity. That kind of man, he doesn't just survive her world. He belongs in it. Point 5, the freedom giver. The Sigma female protects her independence like it's oxygen, because for her it is. She's not the type to lose herself in relationships. She doesn't want to be completed by a man. She's already complete. So the moment someone tries to cage her, she disappears. The freedom giver understands this on a core level. He doesn't try to possess her. He doesn't ask where she's going every 5 minutes. He doesn't need to monitor her moves or police her thoughts. Why? Because he knows the truth. If she's choosing to stay, it's because she wants to, not because she has to. And that makes all the difference. This man doesn't see her independence as a threat to his masculinity. In fact, he respects it. He admires it because he has his own life, his own path, his own purpose, and he doesn't need to merge identities to feel connected. He's not interested in codependency. He's building interdependence. Two whole people choosing each other without control or coercion. She knows she can breathe around him. She doesn't have to shrink her schedule, her friendships, or her solitude just to keep the peace. He doesn't use guilt as a weapon. He uses trust as a bridge. And here's the irony. Because he gives her so much freedom, she chooses to come closer. She wants to include him, not out of obligation, but out of desire. He doesn't have to chase her. He just has to respect her wings. And in doing that, he becomes the only man who can stand beside her. Not in front, not behind, but beside. Point 6, the soul technician. The average man hears words. This man hears systems. A Sigma female ISN, T always direct with her feelings, not because she's hiding them, but because she processes things on a different frequency. She speaks through pauses, through patterns, through subtle shifts in her rhythm. Most people miss it but not the soul technician. This man is emotionally intelligent on another level. He doesn't just ask how she feels, he feels how she feels. He senses the dips in her energy. He catches the unspoken. He notices when her smile is mechanical and when her silence is not peace, but pain. He doesn't rush to fix. He doesn't throw solutions at her soul. He studies. He waits. He listens beyond the noise. The soul technician has done his own inner work. That's why he can hold space for hers. He's not triggered by her moods. He doesn't take her emotional shifts personally. He understands emotional complexity because he lives with his own. And instead of seeing her sensitivity as a problem, he sees it as a map and he reads it fluently. This man creates connection through clarity. He can walk into her chaos and stay calm. Not because he's unaffected, but because he knows how to navigate emotion without drowning in it. And most importantly, he sees her, the real her, the one behind the ambition, behind the logic, behind the control. And he reaches her not with force, but with precision. That's why she trusts him. Not because he's perfect, but because he's present, aware, and emotionally attuned. Point 7, the non-performer. In a world where masculinity is often mistaken for performance, the Sigma female sees right through the act. She doesn't care how alpha a man claims to be. She watches how he moves when no one's watching. And that's where the non-performer rises above the crowd. This man doesn't posture. He doesn't overcompensate. He doesn't enter a room needing to prove dominance. His confidence is quiet. It doesn't seek validation. It radiates stability. He's not trying to impress her with rehearsed lines or flashy moves. He simply is. And that's what grabs her attention. The Sigma female doesn't do pretense. She doesn't engage with personas. So when a man steps into her life wearing a mask, whether it's bravado, false humility, or charm for show, she senses it immediately. The non-performer never has to worry about being exposed because he walks in truth. He's authentic even if it means being vulnerable. He owns his flaws, admits his mistakes, and doesn't pretend to be more emotionally evolved than he is. And that raw honesty is magnetic to her. He doesn't try to outshine her. He doesn't compete for dominance. In fact, he doesn't play power games at all. He shows up grounded, self-contained, and unshaken by her complexity. That's rare. That's powerful. She doesn't need theatrics. She needs truth. And when she meets a man who doesn't perform, who doesn't sell himself, who doesn't shapeshift to gain favor, she leans in because in a world of actors, he's real, and real is irresistible. Point 8, the shadow dweller. The Sigma female doesn't want a man who's polished but hollow. She wants someone who's been to his own dark places and made peace with them. That's what makes the shadow dweller stand out. He's not afraid of discomfort. He doesn't avoid hard conversations. He sat with his own pain, unpacked his own wounds, and did the deep work of healing. He's faced his ego, his fears, his anger, and he didn't run. He transformed. That kind of man doesn't bleed on her when he's hurt. He doesn't project his past onto her. He doesn't need her to mother him or fix him. He shows up whole, not perfect, but integrated. The Sigma female is sharp. She'll spot a man's unresolved trauma in seconds. And if he hasn't done his work, she won't carry that weight for him. She might empathize, but she won't babysit dysfunction. The shadow dweller brings emotional accountability. He doesn't justify bad behavior with "this is just how I am." He evolves. He adapts. He grows not for her, but because growth is how he lives. He also understands her shadows. He doesn't flinch when she reveals her darker layers. He holds space for her anger, her sadness, her doubts without needing to fix or fear them. That's what makes him powerful. Not because he's fearless, but because he's already walked through his fear. And when two people meet with that level of self-awareness, the connection becomes something most people never experience. Real, raw, unbreakable. Point 9, the quiet storm. He doesn't shout his loyalty, he shows it. He doesn't advertise his intentions, he embodies them. This man is the quiet storm. Calm on the outside, powerful at the core. And that's exactly what a Sigma female craves. Consistency without noise. The world is loud. Everyone's trying to prove something, say something, be something. But this man, he doesn't speak unless it's real. He doesn't act unless it's aligned. And his loyalty, it doesn't waver just because things get hard. She tests him not in games, but in truth. She pulls back, challenges ideas, shifts moods, and while others might react, chase, or retreat, the quiet storm stays centered. He doesn't take it personally. He understands that strength isn't in dominance, it's in stillness. He becomes her anchor without becoming a cage. When she's in doubt, he's solid. When she's scattered, he's present. He doesn't lecture her, doesn't try to outtalk her. He simply shows up over and over, steady, reliable, grounded. This isn't about passivity. He's not weak. He's not disengaged. He's just deliberate. Every word is chosen. Every action is intentional. And that focus, it earns her respect. Because for the Sigma female, peace is power. And when she finds a man who brings peace into her space without needing to be the center of it, that's when she starts to trust. And with trust comes loyalty. With loyalty comes connection. And with that kind of connection, there are no games, only truth. Point 10. The strategic listener. Most people listen to reply. This man listens to decode. The strategic listener doesn't just hear what the Sigma female is saying. He picks up on what she's not saying. He reads the subtext. He catches the pause after her sentence, the shift in her tone, the contradiction between her words and her energy. And here's why it matters. The Sigma female doesn't always reveal herself in obvious ways. She doesn't vent often. She doesn't spill emotions easily. She filters and only reveals what she chooses to. That's why a man who listens sharply becomes indispensable. The strategic listener doesn't just offer aha responses. He tracks. He pays attention. He remembers what she said in passing last week and how it connects to her silence today. He isn't waiting to speak. He's building a map. He listens without interrupting, without rushing to respond, without turning it into a conversation about him. That in itself is a rare gift. And when he does speak, it lands because it's not reactive. It's thought out, precise, and timely. He knows when to give logic, when to reflect emotion, and when to say absolutely nothing. The Sigma female feels safe with him, not because he says the right things, but because he listens in the right way. That level of attunement isn't accidental. It's the result of a man who values understanding over ego. And in her world, that's rare currency. Point 11. The curiosity architect. The Sigma female evolves fast. What she loves today might bore her tomorrow. Not because she's unstable, but because she's growing constantly. And the only man who can keep up is the one who never stops learning her. Enter the curiosity architect. This man doesn't assume he knows her just because they've been together a while. He doesn't rely on past knowledge. He stays curious, not controlling, not obsessive, just deeply interested. He observes her phases, notices how her interests shift, how her ambition sharpens, how her silence deepens, and instead of asking her to slow down or stay the same, he adjusts. Not because he's changing for her, but because he cares enough to keep learning. That's what makes the connection stay alive. That's what makes her stay invested. She's not impressed by grand gestures or once-a-year deep talks. She's moved by daily awareness. And this man brings that. He asks thoughtful questions. He reflects her growth back to her. He challenges her too. Not from insecurity, but from insight. He creates space for her to expand. He doesn't box her into the version of herself he first met. He lets her become again and again and stays engaged through each evolution. That's the secret. She doesn't want stability through sameness. She wants shared evolution. And that's exactly what the curiosity architect builds with her. Point 12. The burn-proof flame. Intensity doesn't scare him because he is intensity in human form. The burn-proof flame doesn't run from strong emotions. He doesn't shy away from deep conversations, hard truths, or emotional fires. In fact, he walks into the heat because that's where transformation happens. The Sigma female brings fire, not the chaotic kind, but the purifying kind. Her presence reveals weaknesses. Her standards filter out laziness. Her focus intimidates anyone who's not ready to evolve. But the burn-proof flame, he welcomes it. Why? Because he's not trying to handle her. He's trying to grow with her. He's made of the same stuff. Ambition, depth, self-awareness, and a refusal to settle for a shallow life. He's not afraid when she's intense, when she's angry, when she's overthinking. He doesn't call her too much. He doesn't ask her to tone it down. He holds space for all of it, not with fear, but with fire of his own. He pushes her when she's stuck, grounds her when she's scattered, and softens when softness is needed. He knows when to match her, when to balance her, and when to just let her burn and be. That's the balance. He doesn't extinguish her and she doesn't consume him. Together, they burn bright, but never burn out. So, spicy ladies, if you've been searching for the blueprint of the kind of man who can stand beside a Sigma female, this is it. Not flashy, not controlling, not needy, but powerful in the quietest, deepest way. She's not here to be completed. She's here to build with someone who doesn't shake under pressure or retreat from depth. Someone who isn't intimidated by her solitude or threatened by her strength. And remember this, she doesn't choose based on words. She chooses based on frequency. The man who earns her loyalty is the one who doesn't need to chase her because he walks with her shoulder to shoulder, eye to eye, fire to fire. So if you're becoming that man, or if you are that man, welcome to the rarest frequency there is. And if this message shook something awake in you, hit that subscribe button, because here on Wisdom Ways, we don't just drop knowledge, we build inner empires. Stay true to yourself. To all the spicy ladies, make life beautiful. Thank you for watching, and God bless.